So I wanted to follow on from my last video about the free school meals, because I've been interacting with a few people on social media online, and I'm now on a 30-day ban on Facebook on both my page and my personal profile, because I interacted with somebody on my page that said that it wasn't their responsibility to feed people's kids. And I asked them, if they had a hungry child at their door, would they not take that child in and make sure the kid was fed before they started asking questions about what the parents are doing? Or would they just turn the child away? And they answered that they would turn the child away. So I told them to get the fuck off my page, you absolute cunt. And I've now got a 30-day ban because apparently I violated Facebook's policy on harassment and bullying. Now personally I think it's more harassment and bullying to send a kid hungry, but that's my opinion. So yeah, I've got yet another stint in Facebook jail, so it'll probably be a little while before this video goes up on my Facebook. It's going to go up on YouTube because YouTube won't censor me like that, and I'll probably just post a link once I come out of the Facebook prison to this video, and you can see it there. So for those of you watching on Facebook, you're watching this about a month late. But I wanted to talk about that kind of person. I wanted to talk about the kind of people that have been online on social media and even in person to my face, saying that they don't want to spend their money. Their parents should spend their money better. Parents should manage their money better. Parents shouldn't buy booze or fags or tattoos or new iPhones or things like that. Because like I said in my last video, you are attempting to define poor. In your mind, you're attempting to say poor means you don't have a phone. Poor means you don't have tattoos, or you don't smoke, or you don't drink. You want poor people to be almost Jesus-like and absolutely perfect. Now, when you have no money, and I can attest to this, when you have no money, you want nice things. You want things that you enjoy more so than when you don't. When you have money. I've been poor. I know what it's like to be piss poor. So when you get your first big paycheck, I got my first big paycheck when I was 18 years old. I was on $4.44 an hour, and my first big paycheck I was doing about 40 hours a week. My first big paycheck was about £800, and I went into a TK Maxx and I went bananas. You do that because you're so used to not having things that you like and that you enjoy, and only having the absolute necessities, that when you get the money, you spend it on what you like. It's a rush. It's just to make you feel good. So if you're sitting there and you're saying you shouldn't buy tattoos, you shouldn't buy fags, you shouldn't buy booze, well, tell Jeff Bezos to take the money in his offshore tax haven and pay a living wage. Tell the people who run the big corporations that employ a lot of people that they need to pay a sustainable living wage. And in that way, parents can afford cigarettes and feeding their kids. They can afford to have a drink and keep the heating on. They can afford to get a tattoo and make sure they've got a roof over their heads. You seem to be picking and arguing and telling poor people what they should be spending their money on, but not applying that very same attitude to the rich, to the mega rich who don't need that money. It's as simple as that. If you've got 2 billion hoarded offshore in a country that's imaginary, doesn't even exist except for on paperwork, this actually happens, you don't need that money. Use it. Pay your staff a sustainable living wage so they can buy nice things that they like, as well as food and heating. We can argue all day long about whether poor people are spending their money appropriately or not. There's a whole other discussion. But the fact of the matter is, people in this country are not being paid sustainable wages. They're not being given sustainable contracts with fixed hours that their employer must pay them. They're not earning, they haven't got working rights. So they need to say to Jeff Bezos, to Richard Branson, to Mike Ashley and the like, treat your staff properly. Pay them enough money so that they can keep the fucking lights on, they can keep the shelves stocked and the fridge stocked, and they can keep their kids in school uniforms, and they can all that kind of stuff. Pay your staff enough money so that they can afford the basics. Use that money you have offshore to afford that. Because a lot of these people complain, oh, if we raise minimum wage, we won't be able to afford it. Use the money you've got offshore. It's as simple as that. We're all sitting there pointing the finger at the poor people, not pointing the finger at the people who aren't actually paying people who work for a living. Most people on benefits are in work. We're not actually pointing the finger at them for not doing their bit and actually treating their staff properly. It's as simple as that.